Every week is a fresh start in the world of college football. Forget what you've seen, forget what you've heard, but don't overlook the herd. This week, the Marshall Thundering Herd comes to the shoe lean, mean, and green, but about to play the best team they've ever seen. The Buckeyes are 2-0, fresh off the bye, and ready to say hello to 3-0. It's the final game of the non-conference season. Scarlet against green, Ohio against West Virginia, and we've got you covered right up until kickoff. The Football Fever starts right now. Good morning from Ohio Stadium, where today the 2-0 Buckeyes will host the Marshall Thundering Herd at 1-1. Good morning. Welcome to The Football Fever. I'm Dave Holmes, joined as always by Obi Stillwell. We have Kellyanne Stitz inside the shoe as we speak. We'll check in with her in just a few minutes, plus Ben Buchanan and Jay Richardson back in the studio. But Obi, let's talk about the start here. 2-0. Back-to-back wins against the MAC. So how much can we really know about the Buckeyes this early in the season?
Well, you know what? I think not much. More personality type of flow, but it's always good to see what your program, what your organization, how your guys are going to flow in certain game time situations. You cannot simulate game time, situations until you get into the game. So I think it gives a good opportunity to do that. Maybe the competition's a little weaker, but still at the same time, I think it gives a good a platform for evaluation.
We're going to talk about the schedule here in a few minutes. Some people, and the national pundits, ripping on the cupcake schedule early on, but Obi, you can only play who you play, and so far they've taken care of business.
Yeah, you know what? I like, quote, the cupcake schedule, because again, it gives you an opportunity to evaluate your team. And then, at the end of the day, you're looking at a longer season. Injuries are, you just hope to kind of come out of these type of games with no injuries, no serious injuries. But I like the cupcake schedule because the Big Ten is so rough, it's so physical, and to make it to that through the playoffs and to the championship, it's going to take a lot.
It's been 2 weeks since we've seen the Buckeyes in action. Last time they played the Western Michigan Broncos, and Quinshon Judkins really broke out in that game in the rushing game. But Obi, I think you believe it's going to be a little tougher sledding today against Marshall.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, their front seven is a little stronger. They're going to throw some blitz at them. They also got to have a hometown kid, and Jaden Yates. He's playing middle linebacker, number 30, so keep your eyes on him. His father actually is in the Hall of Fame at Marshall, went in 2019. That's a hometown kid that's getting an opportunity to play in front of 100,000 Buckeye fans in his hometown. I think he's going to try to make a difference. I think they stick in this game for at least a quarter or two.
Well, Ryan Day made no bones about it. He'd rather not have a bye week this early in the season, but he said it's out of my control. He called it improvement week. It was also a chance for him to watch some football as a fan. Here's what he had to say about the bye week.
You watch the games, and now you get a chance to watch multiple games at once. I'm sure a lot of people do that now, and so you bounce from game to game, and you just watch. You watch the coaches, you watch the players, you watch the demeanor, you watch the body types, you watch the situations, you learn from it. It just gives you a great perspective.
Yeah, it was funny to hear Ryan Day talk about that. He said he would watch the coaches as he was watching as a fan and say, should have called timeout there, should have gone for it on fourth down. As a former player, can you watch it as a fan, or are you analyzing every little detail?
You know what? You do. It is so hard to turn it off, and then plus when you got former guys that are texting you their opinion and you're texting them, you're on this big thread talking about the game, it is hard to turn it off. I can imagine as a coach trying to turn it off, and so understandable. Yeah,
odd start to the schedule here with an early season bye, MAC, Marshall, but it's not always going to be this way. We decided to look at the upcoming Ohio State schedules beginning next year. Let's look at what they have standing in front of them in 2025. Things will get a lot more difficult beginning next year when they have a home-and-home that starts here at the Shoe against Texas. Going to be fun to see an HBCU Grambling come to the Shoe, only the second time Ohio State's hosted a historically black college or university, and Ohio U. Then in 2026, the Buckeyes will go on the road to pay off the other half of that home-and-home against Texas. Kent State and Ball State, a pair of MAC schools. 2027, things get very interesting when the Alabama Crimson Tide come here to Ohio Stadium to begin that home-and-home. And also, how about that, Ryan Day will get his old boys from New Hampshire here along with Bowling Green. Then in 2028, another pair of MAC schools with Buffalo and Northern Illinois, but there's also a road trip down there to Tuscaloosa. So things will get much more difficult, Obi. But you said you don't mind in this new Big Ten with USC and Washington, Oregon. You don't mind having a few easy games.
No, I think it's necessary because it does get your you get to evaluate your second string, your third string. It gets your first string guys out of there. As long as they come in the game, starting hard and they're fast and they're running around, making tackles, all that good stuff. And I remember there are times, because I was one of those guys, right, that second string, third string, sometimes guys that would hope that we ran the score up a little bit, right? So we can get some of the younger guys in. But I think it creates camaraderie within the team. It also kind of creates an opportunity for evaluations like we spoke about earlier.
Well, every team needs depth, and lucky for us here at the Football Fever, we have depth as well. Let's go to the rest of our starting lineup. Back in the studio, Ben Buchanan and Jay Richardson. Hey, guys.
Thanks, Dave. Ben Buchanan here in studio with former Buckeye and the new Dublin Hall of Famer, Jay Richardson, my man. Welcome to another week of the Football Fever. It must be said, Buckeyes have had a pretty easy start to the season comparatively to other teams around the country. Obviously, of course, Georgia and Clemson played at Georgia week 1, although that wasn't much of a game with the Bulldogs bulldozing the Tigers 34-3. And
yikes.
We certainly can't forget about that team up north, right? The Maize and Blue walking out of their week 2 matchup with Texas more black and blue after a 31-12 beatdown. So, Jay, your thoughts here. Is it better to play some weaker teams to gain confidence, or should a program like Ohio State be taking on the big dogs early on in the season?
Ben, this is a great question, but I think it all depends on your program's seniors. How many seniors do you have? How mature of a football team do you have? If I got a mature football team, if I got a lot of seniors and I feel confident in the guys I have out there, then yes, bring on the big-time matchups, bring on the Michigans, bring on the Clemsons, bring on, Texas and all that. However, if you have a young football team, if you have a lot of guys at positions for the first time, a lot of new starters, it's okay to have these tune-up games. It's okay to get these guys comfortable. Look at what's happening right now for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Look at Junkins. Look at the young receiver, who's all world in Jeremiah Smith.
Unbelievable.
Getting a chance after that first game, having a couple drops, and then all of a sudden now he looks like the second coming of Megatron. These kind of things happen when you have some teams that, you're getting some softballs thrown your way, but it's important to get these guys in rhythm. It's important for offensive coordinators to get their calls in rhythm and to find out what this team is about. Now, I do agree, a big test really can make or break your team early on, but it can also show the measuring stick. Look at Ohio State the last time they won a national championship, lost to Virginia Tech in an early game, a big matchup, and then went on to win a national championship. So don't put too much stock in the early matchups. Let the team develop and let a personality emerge for your team.
I'm sure a team like Clemson would appreciate some more of those easier games, because it's been amazing to see that fall the last couple
You know
years.
what, Ben? That's a great point you just made about Clemson. I think the thing with Clemson and Dabo Swinney is when you're the coach that least utilizes the portal. Some teams like FSU overutilize the portal, and you get a bunch of guys who are ship jumpers who cannot benefit your program. But when you look at Clemson and just what they haven't been able to do in the ACC of all conferences, it's a testament to maybe this portal NIL stuff has some merit and can benefit your team. And to watch Dabo not be able to utilize it and not be able to boost his program.
You have to adapt, right?
You have to adapt with the times.
Yeah.
Nick adapted. He went to the booth, Nick Saban. He said, look, I can't do this. I'm going to the booth to call some games and have some fun. Dabo, you're headed there next if you don't get this thing figured out.
Oh, man, got to figure that out. All right, Jay, both the offense and defense absolutely rolling to start the season here. Is there any reason for Coach Day or the coordinators to switch anything up today, or are there any more position battles that are to be had, in your opinion, today?
No, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
This team has looked fantastic starting this season off. It took a couple plays to really get a rhythm, but I think Chip Kelly and Ryan Day have a fantastic rapport. They have a fantastic rhythm, and the team is getting healthy at the right time early on, I know, but you got to realize this team did not come in with all of their guys. So you're right when you look at Cody Simon and Donovan Jackson and some battles that could be had. Left guard Austin Sieverfeld played fantastic backing up Donovan Jackson, who's two-time All-Big Ten. But I think right now you don't want those kind of battles. You don't want to try to compete with the guys. You already know what you have, and it's working. So just let it play out and continue to get better and build on the base that we have right now.
Good to see a good base heading into 2024. It's a long season, as we say,
it's
right?
It's a journey, baby.
Let's go. All right, time now for the Atlas Butler offensive checkup. And one of the big things the Buckeyes needed to improve upon this offseason was the offensive line. And so far, so good, it seems. New quarterback Will Howard has had a clean pocket thus far, only being pressured 4 times. And that's without one key starter in left guard Donovan Jackson. He didn't play in the first 2 games, but he's now back and ready to go. Let's send things out to our Kellyanne Stitz, who's breaking down a Buckeye O-line, who's finally at full throttle. Kellyanne?
Yeah, the Buckeyes returned a key starter on the offensive line today. Donovan Jackson, left guard, has yet to play a single snap this season, recovering from an injury. He was held out against Western Michigan out of an abundance of caution. He was technically available, but Ryan Day said all week that he will be good to play today. He's a 2-time first-team All-Big Ten offensive lineman. He's entering his 4th season at Ohio State, played in all 39 games the last 3 seasons, and started in 26 straight games at left guard. He adds that veteran experience on the offensive line today.
To me, best guard in the country. So, for Seth and for Josh on both sides of them, it's just, here's a guy that's been through it before. I do think Austin played well when he was in there, but this is a guy who's played a lot of football and one of the best in the game.
Knowing what to do, when to do it, right calls, helping Seth out, helping Josh out.
They also mentioned that the offensive line had one of their better practices on Tuesday, and with Jackson returning to that front 5, they will get the opportunity to see what his ideal #1 offensive line will look like in real time in a game. He also mentioned that the offensive line built confidence in their last game, and adding Jackson back will certainly add to that confidence. Guys.
Thanks now, Kellyanne. Despite Jackson missing 2 games now, the defensive leader Cody Simon absent as well against Akron. This team does look healthy now. Jay, how does that contribute to building confidence as a program? You got to be healthy.
Well, you can't make the club in the tub, is the old pro saying.
I like
and
that.
So to have all the guys out of the cold tub and onto the field is huge. And just to see the production and the cohesion of this team, for where this Buckeye team wants to go and where all the experts have this team predicted, the one thing that you cannot predict is the health of your football team. We've all seen in every level health be something that can make or break a team's journey. So I love to see all the guys there. The only guy the Buckeyes will be missing as a starter is Kourt Williams. That, to me, is actually a significant loss just because he is such an impactful defensive tackle. He will be a first-round draft pick, folks. I promise you that. But Hero Kanu can fill in. You've got a couple other guys that can fill in. And I think Caden McDonald's going to also fill in. And I think you're going to get a defensive line that's hungry and looking to make some plays against this Marshall passing attack. But yes, when the guys are healthy and you have all of your horses on the field, as a coach, you can properly evaluate your football team, Ben. And those first 3 weeks to 4 weeks, those tune-up games are also evaluation games. So I think the coaches are going through all the film and going, man, it's hard to evaluate when guys aren't healthy. But when you got all your team out there, now you can see what you have and know what changes need to be made.
Well, we've talked about it before. I just think the running back position is special this year. That two-headed monster. I mean, Travion, Quinshawn, they're a special group, and we're going to see what they're made of certainly the rest of this year. Physical Big Ten football is something that doesn't change, right? Down the stretch, got to be able to run the football, and these guys are special, as we've seen thus far. All right, much more to come here on the Football Fever. We know these Buckeyes are extremely hungry, but hungry enough to transfer?
Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat.
That's right. We're breaking down the creative NIL pitch from Marshall's head coach and how this new era has changed the landscape of college football. Plus, he's raring and ready to go. Denzel Burke is back after his controversial ejection against Western Michigan. We'll go one-on-one with the corner at 11:30. Stay with us here on the Football Fever.
This countdown to kickoff is sponsored by Division 7 Roofing.
And welcome back to the Football Fever. We're about 45 minutes away from kickoff between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Marshall Thundering Herd. If you're headed to the game today, be sure to bring plenty of water because it's going to be a hot one, as we know. Well, there's simply no denying the impact of name, image, and likeness, NIL as it's known in college football. Some of these kids are now earning millions, that's right, Jay, millions of dollars. But depending on the school, NIL money can vary. When Marshall's head coach Charles Huff was questioned about the immense talent on this Buckeye roster, he gave his very best sales pitch. Take a listen here.
Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you, all you can eat all day if you transfer here. So.
I love that. Well, if you didn't know, Tudor's Biscuit World is a staple in the state of West Virginia, something to keep in mind. Now, the Buckeyes may not have these biscuits, but they're making some serious bread, as we like to say thus far. Take a look at the top 3 earners on the football team here. Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, and Quinshawn Judkins all have their various NIL deals, Jay, being valued at around $1 million. Pretty impressive. Some serious bucks for these Buckeyes. Jay, I feel like I know what you think about this, but NIL, it has changed the landscape of college football. Do you think it's been for the better of the sport?
First things first, Coach Huff, all the biscuits in the world ain't bringing nobody to West Virginia from Columbus. I promise you that. But I will say this about NIL.
They could be pretty tasty. You never know, man.
First of all, have you seen the pockets these kids got now? They got all they can eat already.
Pretty impressive.
They don't need any biscuits.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, though. I love NIL for a lot of reasons, the top ones being it teaches the kids their value. It shows them their worth to these programs, and it makes them able to kind of navigate their own terrain and choose their own destiny, which I can appreciate. The portal does that as well. I will say this, Ben. I think the NIL has to have a little bit more guide rails at some point because I think a lot of these youngsters are starting to make decisions solely based on finances and not always based on the best interest of their future. And I think that in the long run will hurt some of them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys are going to learn some tough lessons with NIL, but the whole purpose of college, Ben, is to kind of get you ready for the real world. And in the real world, there's finances. In the real world, you have to make tough decisions. You have to learn how to pay taxes and all these things.
No doubt.
So these kids should learn this now. And for the value they're bringing the universities, and that's in the billions, they deserve a couple dollars.
Pretty impressive.
They
pretty
deserve
impressive.
a couple dollars.
That seems to be the biggest controversy, if you will. Is it moving to the highest bidder, so to speak? But it's always been that. The Heisman Trophy winners, the biggest, football stadiums. Why we went for the Scarlet and Gray. So
100%.
Pretty impressive seeing what NIL has brought college football now. Now, Jay, obviously NIL was before our time at Ohio State. Let's say you were playing today. That is unfortunate. What would be one NIL deal that could tempt you away from Ohio State? What would sway Jay Richardson? Here.
First of all, there's some NIL deals that could tempt me away from ABC.
Don't be saying that.
I'm joking.
What's going on?
No, listen. I love what I'm seeing out. There are a lot of tough decisions these kids got to make. If I'm like a Quinn Ewers and you go to Ohio State, get $1 million, go back to Texas, those kind of deals, that could be tempting.
Yep.
Car deals are always going to be tempting because we all need 4 wheels and an engine.
Yep.
For me, I like suits.
Nice apparel.
A suit NIL deal and apparel NIL deal would be great. Nike, one of these things.
I'm a golfer, man. Maybe some exclusive rights to some of the nicest clubs in town. Maybe some greens fees included. I mean, we can get creative. You know what I'm saying? We can get creative here.
The world's their oyster now.
That's right. There we go. All right, let's bring in Dave and Obi now. Guys, what type of deal would make you enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, so the last thing I want is a biscuit deal, Obi. The camera adds 10 pounds, and I've got that camera and that camera pointed at me. That's 20 pounds. So I don't need any more biscuits. Is there a deal that would get you to leave Ohio State?
You know what? I love Ohio State, man. So it would only be a Nike deal. If I had a Nike deal, I would definitely look at going to Oregon.
Okay.
But it would have to be an equity option with design, that I could actually have a little say in design. And any endorsement deals that I bring, I get a little bit of equity in that. I would do something. I'd do something like that.
Don't think that I didn't notice that you said Oregon. You already have the green suit. He's got one foot out the door here. You know what? I'm actually thinking about a green jacket myself. I love you, Ohio State. But if the Georgia Bulldogs called and said, we can get you a spot at a listening, but I'm also for sale. So if Muirfield Village and Scioto and the golf club, I mean, Columbus could match it. We've got a lot of good courses here, guys. So Jay and Ben, it sounds like the green suit's ready to go to Oregon. I'm ready to go to Augusta and join the Bulldogs. No loyalty here on the Football Fever.
Well, we just got to be creative, you know. NIL's here to stay, and so
it ain't going nowhere.
We're looking to get some, I guess. All right, thanks, guys. Still much more to come here on the Football Fever. Denzel Burke's return means the Silver Bullets have one of their key leaders back. The impact leadership is having on both sides of the ball. This is the Football Fever. Stay with us. All right, time now for another G&J Pepsi Fantastic Photo of the Week. An amazing shot here of the horseshoe. I'll tell you what, even with, slight overcast, the beauty of Ohio Stadium shines through on game day. Remember to send us your photos of how you're watching our Buckeyes by going to chime in on the ABC6 app, and we look forward to seeing you there. All right, now on to the Football Fever Best Trivia in the Land, sponsored by Parlay Sporting Club and Kitchen. This week's question is, what number did OSU great Archie Griffin wear when he played for the Buckeyes? Another layup, Jay Rich. Was it 27? Was it 31? Or 45. I feel like we should know this one.
You get this wrong, you cannot be a Buckeye.
Simply scan the QR code on the screen and answer the question correctly, and you could win a $100 gift card to Parlay Sporting Club and Kitchen to enjoy some of this amazing food you're seeing right now. Getting me hungry. Well, we're about 30 minutes away from kickoff, so you could say we're pretty pumped up and buckled up.
Let's go.
Oh, wait. Ayo. Oh, wait. Ayo. Buckle up, we're going for a ride.
That's right, it's become the unofficial anthem of Ohio State's national title aspirations. We'll introduce you to the man behind the song Buckle Up and how it goes much deeper than football. Stay with us here on the Football Fever.
Welcome back to the Football Fever. We're just over a half hour from kickoff between the Buckeyes and the Thundering Herd. Marshall's playing a team that's loaded with first-round talent, including cornerback Denzel Burke. But the last time we saw Denzel, he wasn't exactly a happy camper out there. Kellyanne Stitz has more on the man who got called with targeting.
Yeah, Denzel Burke is currently warming up behind me, and he is ready to go today after missing the final 3 quarters in the Buckeyes' last game against Western Michigan. He tells me he is itching to get back on the field, especially after that ejection followed by the bye week. And while he wants to turn the page today, he did share with me his perspective on that controversial play.
I honestly didn't see what the ref saw, but I guess for me, next time I just got to keep my head up. And they're looking at it from a professional standpoint, and I don't agree, but I understand the call. But now I know better for next time.
What did you learn from that adversity?
Really just in times of adversity, and I'm not on the field. It's really important for me to be a leader to my teammates and be able to uplift them on the sideline, and making sure that everyone's doing their job, and just being that vocal guy that everyone can trust, and even when I'm on the field, I can make an impact.
The defense has been dominant so far, only giving up 6 points. You guys haven't allowed a single touchdown, nor an opponent to even make a single play in the red zone. I know it's early in the season, but where can the defense continue to grow?
Just continue to grow in all aspects of the game, continue to run to the ball, continue to be physical, turn the ball over, run to the ball, if I didn't say that already, and really just continue to keep teams out the end zone, man, and play hard, play for each other, be communicative, and have fun.
A couple of fun ones here. Do you have any pregame ritual, and if so, what does that look like?
I meditate before every single game.
Cool.
So I just like to clear my mind, get ready for the game, and really just be calm, have fun, and just get my mind right.
And you say you're calm, you like to meditate beforehand, but I mean, you're a dog on the field, BIA. So do you participate in any trash talking as part of the game?
I used to.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like if I get talking to, you won't hear the end of me. So I don't really initiate it. I don't really initiate it, but yeah, I can get a little feisty.
You just let your game speak for itself.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Per NCAA rules, Burke can play today since he was ejected in the first half in their last game against Western Michigan. Now, if the targeting foul occurs in the second half, the player will be disqualified from the first half in the next game. But again, Burke is good to go today. Because the rule resides in a gray area, the biggest lesson he learned was don't lead with the crown of your head in a tackle. Keep your head up, because Burke certainly doesn't want to miss any time in his senior season, guys.
All right, thanks so much. Good stuff, Kellyanne and Denzel. Back here with Obi Stillwell live at the Shoe. All right, so let's be a couple of old guys here and rant on television, Obi. There is nothing, no words, no phrase that sucks the air out of a stadium like the previous play is being reviewed for targeting.
Yes.
It's been around for years, and yet none of us knows what it is. So what's going on here?
Yeah, you know what? I understand what they're trying to do. It's essentially hitting with the crown of the helmet. It's really hard when the offensive player is leaning their head down, but they're telling the defensive player not to lead your head down. It's almost like what you're doing now. You're nodding. It makes me nod, right? They put their head down. I'm going to put my head down. So this targeting rule somehow has to go both ways, and until it does, it's going to be really hard to define.
Well, Denzel Burke, no doubt excited to be back on the field today. He's pumped up to play, and when it comes to getting pumped up, the Buckeyes have an unofficial anthem this year called Buckle Up.
Oh, wait. Ayo. Oh, wait. Ayo. Buckle up. Buckle up. We're going for a ride. Knuckle up. Knuckle up. It's time for a fight.
Yeah, the unofficial anthem this year, Buckle Up. And it's more than just a song. There's a story of the man who made the music. And for more on that, we go to Rodney Dunnigan.
Mecca, Dome, Buckeye Nation.
The beat, the lyrics, the entire vibe, infectious.
Knuckle up, knuckle up.
Buckle Up, the song blaring through the speakers at the Shoe on game days this season.
It's amazing because honestly, it wasn't something that I ever set out to do.
The message, the movement, led by former Buckeye walk-on Mecca Don.
As an artist, I don't care how big of an artist you are, that you have the football team running out to your song in front of 100,000 fans and people screaming and people knowing the words, that it doesn't get bigger than that, honestly.
Going to the top. Don is a man of many talents. Athlete, lawyer, musical artist. His latest Buckeye anthem making waves among fans.
Let's see the 100,000 fans go crazy.
And he's documenting every exciting moment. From watching the Bucks run out to his song on the field to celebrations along Lane Avenue with fans. For Don, his passions run deep. It's not just about football, but family. Not only is he a grad of Ohio State, his parents, siblings as well, even his uncle. He literally bleeds scarlet and gray.
It's just generations and generations that this university has kind of poured into. It's been amazing.
This is our time and it's time for a run. Buckle up, Buckeye fans. Mecca Don started the engine, and the Buckeyes are taking us all on a heart-pumping ride that hopefully ends on the road to a national title.
Buckeye Nation, going to the top. Y'all ready? Going to the top. I'm ready.
All right, we'll talk about music in just a minute here with Obi. But first up, did you have a pregame ritual, tradition, something you did before you walked down that tunnel?
You know what? I used to, it was kind of more of a spiritual thing with me. I played like the wind-ins, old school wind-ins or commission and walk the field. I just wanted to walk. I wanted to walk from one end zone through the end zone and then back through the other. That was kind of more just a time to kind of meditate and get ready for the game.
So if you had one song before one more, we put the cleats on one more time. You're walking down the tunnel. What's your psych up, pump up song?
It's gonna be the wind-ins, the song Wherever I Go, Your Spirit Goes, and yeah, it'd probably be that one.
Okay, all right, well, let's go back to the studio. The rumor is when Ben Buchanan played, it was anything Barry Manilow. He wasn't picky, just anything Manilow.
Wow, Dave. Well,
and he was in.
I'll share something.
Don't do that to Ben.
We go to this guy right here. Jay, what were some of your pregame rituals and your favorite song?
Pregame rituals, I was very big on whatever worked for me the week before. Like if I had a good game the week before, what cleats I wore, the socks I wore, the way I styled, like my pads, if I did pads in or pads out, very, very important stuff. And then I'd go on the field, and I'd also have music playing, but Obi, my music was very, very different than your music. A lot of DMX, a lot of MOP, some Jay-Z, a lot of Wayne, but stuff I could never play on air here.
Okay, got it.
That's what got me going before games.
You hear the term pump-up song, and I'm just saying, as a specialist, kicker, punter, I'm thinking about being smooth, being consistent.
Yeah.
Not Barry Manilow. What are we talking about here? It was Clarity by my guy John Mayer, great guitarist, great vocalist. It's a little more chill going into the game. I'd walk the field. Obviously, pray, call my dad before games, mom and dad. That was a tradition I had.
Yeah, me too. Always called mom,
gotta,
always prayed.
Give back to those that got you there, right? I mean, it's a journey.
So this is how you can tell the difference in our job descriptions. You see, kickers, punters, they got to be calm. They got some nice, easy, soothing music to be able to knock that thing through the uprights. Defensive linemen, we got to be border on the edge of like psychotic before a game. It's just a different job description.
I'm telling you, Clarity, John Mayer, you want to feel nice and smooth? Look it up. All right, much more to come here on The Football Fever as we bring you right up to kickoff between the Buckeyes and the Thundering Herd. Stay with us.
Rudy is one that I love because I've always loved the pageantry of Notre Dame. And as I talk to more people, it seems like Rudy's story has grown over time.
But Jerry DiNardo, who I used to work with at the Big Ten Network, he was a part of the whole Rudy thing, and he refuses to watch the movie. He's like, I know none of this is true. I don't want to be a part of it.
Okay, so how about worst movies?
Well, they love Rudy. They just don't believe it. Man, that was Dave and former Buckeye Joshua Perry sitting down for the Buckeye Fever podcast. They talked best and worst sports movies of all time. Plus, where does ego fit on the football team? And Dave also got an earful from Austin Ward about his brushes with celebrity. It's all on this week's Buckeye Fever podcast. New episodes drop every Wednesday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So Dave and Joshua talked about Rudy. It's a classic feel-good sports flick. Whether it was because it's too sappy or because Rudy was offsides, the movie doesn't even crack. That's great, right? That's good. The IMDb's top 20 sports movies of all time. According to the site, the top 5 are Hoop Dreams, followed by 3 boxing classics, Rocky, $1 Million Baby, and Raging Bull. The top 5 is rounded out by Cinderella Man, another great boxing movie right there. So with that in mind, Jay and I decided to have a little fun this morning and show off our favorite sports movies and why we love them so much. So Jay, your pick right here.
Yeah, first of all, the whole Rudy thing, it never happened. Hate to break it to you folks. Now,
poor Notre Dame fans.
I know, I hate to do it too. Notre Dame, I just don't like them. Hate to say this, but I love Oliver Stone movies. They're packed with action. He's known for his explosions and all of this stuff. Any Given Sunday, one of the best football movies you could watch. It's gritty, it's raw, it's Pacino, it is Jamie Foxx. You're talking about Oscar award-winning actors. Then you got LL Cool J, who was baby oiled up the whole time. You got Dennis Quaid, Cameron Diaz, we haven't seen her in forever.
Good cast.
Any Given Sunday has got an awesome cast. And then quietly, Lawrence Taylor, NFL Hall of Famer, is in this movie playing Lawrence Taylor, basically.
Wow.
And he's amazing at it. I mean, he kills it. One of the best football movies. You want to get pumped up if you want something that you're like, oh my God, is that really what goes on?
Wow.
And it's kind of accurate too. I loved this movie. It's a classic. Close runner-up, Remember the Titans.
That's a great one. I was close to picking that.
I was going back and forth with Spence about this, our producer, and I was, Remember the Titans, Denzel, just a classic story, beautiful story, great movie.
Okay, less the pump up again for me, although that is a great movie, more sentimental. I had to go Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner, I think it was 1989, 90, right around that time. The OG, Kevin Costner, still making great movies today, as we know. Sentimental, this is actually my dad's favorite movie. I remember as a young boy watching this movie with my dad. If you build it, he will come. The sentiment of the father, son, and baseball. Man, I'm a sucker for that. Love you, Pops. Thanks for everything. Hey, we're friends, but isn't that funny what makes the world go round? Different movies, different taste in music.
Again,
all
folks,
good.
Kickers and punters, they got to be calm, at ease, tranquilo.
I love this movie, man. I'll tell you what. All right, David Obie. Here.
Yeah, I feel the Any Given Sunday there. I mean, just picturing Pacino saying, on this team, we fight for that inch. I mean, if it wasn't 85 degrees and I was wearing 2 layers, I'd have goosebumps right now. Obi, so what do you think of when you think of a great sports movie?
Well, you know what? I'm with Jay. I hated Rudy. I got called Rudy as a walk-on. I was like, hold on. I made the team as first-year walk-on, and I earned a scholarship, so stop calling me Rudy. But people used to love to call me Rudy. But anyhow, I think my favorite movie was, man, I'm going to take y'all way back. 1985, Vision Quest.
Oh, my goodness.
The wrestling movie, Vision Quest. Somebody Google that. You're going to love it. It's going to bless you. I'm telling you.
It's so bad, it's good.
Yes.
That's the way I describe it. As a golf guy, I love Caddyshack, although IMDb's list, I actually love Hoop Dreams. Story of 2 high school kids who want to make it to the NBA someday out of a poor part of Chicago. Such a good documentary. You know, I think sometimes the best sports movies, Obi, are inspirational. And when I look at this Ohio State football team, there's one assistant coach who is all about inspiring his team.
Yes, there is. Tim Walton, the defensive back coach, great recruiter, and he has an inspirational message every Thursday. Let's take a look at what he says this week.
I've been down in the deep, struggling and praying for weeks. Something ain't right within my soul if I can't hear what he speaks. Spiritually battling the beast, trying to take over my peace. I started fasting, reaching places I couldn't even see. Now I'm covered in the power. Watch it take over my lungs, speaking life into the dreams that people told me were done.
Yeah, Tim Walton's such a good guy. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, Obi. There's a very spiritual element to this team. There's a lot of depth to this roster.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of like a Buckeye mindset, and there's so many aspects of what we're doing in the aspects of mental wellness, even with the African American Male Wellness Agency. We're doing so many things in that aspect, and these guys are catching on to a mindset. And I think in one of the things he texted me in that message is what and is why is really clearing out the distractions, clearing out the voices that are saying that you're not going to do it, you can't do it, and really focusing on your task. So I love his inspiration. We're going to keep doing this on each segment. But his Thursday messages are powerful.
Well, we have plenty more to talk about here on the Football Fever. They may be from West Virginia, but they are the neighbors to the southeast, the Marshall Thundering Herd, getting you ready for kickoff shortly after noon. Coming up next on the Football Fever, Kourt Williams will not be in pads today, but he is very much a part of this team. Kellyanne Stitz has more on the decision to retire for Mr. Williams. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Football Fever. Ohio State linebacker Kourt Williams II came to Columbus as a four-star recruit with NFL aspirations. But after injuries plagued his career as a Buckeye, Williams decided to call it a career. Kellyanne Stitz has how the former Buckeye linebacker is now tackling life after football.
While Kourt can no longer tackle opponents on Saturdays, he's still supporting his teammates on game days. Kourt will help the linebackers through warm-ups, and he's kind of like a coach and another support system on the sideline. At 22 years old, he had 7 surgeries, including 2 ACL repairs, making the difficult decision to medically retire this season.
How have you been able to navigate this life after football and not a rebrand, but almost like you said, just embracing a different reality, a different perspective?
When you go through the injuries, you know, the healing process is pretty extensive. It's pretty long. And there was a lot of times where I was isolated and I was by myself, and I was just in my thoughts. You know, in those moments of silence, you know, it can either get really bad, or be pretty good. It's these injuries have allowed me to step back and really see, you know, what it is I actually like to do, what I'm actually passionate about, what gets me fired up.
So what would be your advice to other athletes who are in similar situations?
I would just say, man, you know, if you don't know where to look, you don't know where to turn, look up. Look up. It's you know, it's hard to when you're in it, you know, it's hard to really, and I can speak on this. It's hard to really talk to somebody because you're trying to figure yourself out at the same time. You're trying to figure out how you're going to maneuver through it all. And the only thing that I can say with my whole heart is lean on Christ. Lean on your family if you can. Lean on the community if you can. Don't isolate yourself. That's one of the things that I can say. You know, we tend to do that a lot if we go through things, you know, especially as men. You know, we try to keep it all pent up, you know, figure it out on our own. Don't do that, because you're not as alone as you think. And there are other people that have gone through it and have, you know, done great things, you know, through it all. So talk to people, open up. It'll help you in the long run.
Kourt, that was very, very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. What's your kind of takeaway on the group this year? There's a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
The group does seem super close.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it seems like it could be a special year for the Buckeyes.
100%. We got all the tools.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, special teams, coaching staff. We have everything that we need, you know, so it's just a matter, it's up to us now.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to do what we have to do, you know, in between the lines, and the rest take care of itself.
Do you think this is the closest knit group that you've been a part of during your time at Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it, you know, in terms of the things that, you know, the team is doing in the community, you know, when it comes to Christ and faith and everything, you know, bringing the team together, I feel like the Ohio State community together, all that, it's, you can see it. So it's definitely one of, if not the closest groups that I've been a part of.
Kourt tells me his plan is to finish his second degree this spring and then pursue real estate. He told me he gets that same passion and that feeling of the hunt and pursuit that he got on the football field in real estate as he navigates this new life after football, guys.
Jay, pretty impressed with not only Kourt there, but just this team as a whole. This is a mature group of men. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, a lot of seniors, a lot of guys came back then because they thought they had some unfinished business. And when you get a team like that with so many guys returning, what you're going to get is leadership. And what you're going to get is guys with 3, 4, 5, sometimes, and these days in college football, you might get 6 or 7 years of perspective and of wisdom and understanding. So it's no surprise that this group is so close. It's no surprise that they are such a steady team already so far and tight-knit. And I think this is going to be the most important season in the modern Buckeye era that they've had since the last year they won a championship. I think having this group together, having so many guys back, is going to pay dividends in November, like down the stretch when it matters the most.
Well, you see the superstars on the field, the Will Howards, the Travion Hendersons, the production, but you look at kind of the glue that holds a team together. A guy like Kourt Williams right there, that's where you could have something special in a national championship.
Heck yeah, and shout out to Kourt Williams, man. Like I've been through it. I've had a knee injury and a contract year, my 4th season in the NFL, and had to go through rehab. And as he said, you feel like you're by yourself all the time, isolated, and just doing all these little tiny exercises, hoping that it works, hoping that you can be yourself again. And for him to have the perspective he has, for him to push through and still contribute to the football team, contribute to his brothers, and to help push the guys on the field, that's important. And the team's going to need that. So shout out to Kourt Williams.
And you need that community as an individual. So kudos to Kourt. Very, very impressive young man. All right, more to come here on The Football Fever as we give our final thoughts and keys to the game as the Buckeyes do battle with the Thundering Herd. Stay with us.
Time now for the Hyundai keys to the game. I say the Jackson 5. That's what I'm referring to the offensive line as, because Donovan Jackson is back today making his season debut. I want to see how he acclimates himself to this line. Scoring defense. That's not a stat. That's actually a verb there, because the Buckeyes have outscored the other team's offense so far 12-6 on the season. And number 2 is number 1. What I mean is Emeka Egbuka has played second fiddle to Jeremiah Smith, and rightfully so. But it's time for Emeka to have his breakout game. I'm looking for big things out of number 2. Back here live at the shoe, Obi Stillwell, give me a final thought as the Buckeyes take on the Herd.
My final thought is more of the same, right? They had 6 rushing touchdowns at the 2 weeks ago, actually, and I think you have to enforce your will, be dominant in the run game, and I think the Buckeyes will be okay.
That's the story here at the shoe. Let's go back to the studio for final thoughts with Ben and Jay.
All right, thanks, guys. Jay, final thoughts in this one versus Marshall?
Oh, man, go out, execute. You got a full, healthy roster. You got a challenge that's going to be a little bit more than the last 2 weeks. You know, this isn't Western Michigan. This is a pretty solid football team in Marshall with a great coach and Coach Huff. But I want to see the team make the next step. I want to see a balanced game as you were looking for last season, you know, that 250 passing, 250 rushing. And you want to see a clean game. Ohio State, lower the penalties. Come on now. Always leading penalties. Can't do that.
I feel like you've been saying that for a while. I think today might be the day. I want to see Will Howard continue to develop. I think he's a special quarterback. He's going to do big things this year. All right, that'll do it for us here on the Football Fever. Ohio State and Marshall kick it off in just a few minutes on Fox. We'll see you tonight for the post-game show. Go Bucks.
Let's go.